Mr. Adi. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll do roll call. Bowman here, Fraser,
Here.
Honey,
Here.
Laporte,
Here.
Adi,
Here.
Patterson,
Here.
and Rush.
Here.
Okay. Matt, you want to take it from here?
I would love to if you want, someone else to make a motion.
I'll make a
second.
motion to have Mr. Adi chair the meeting.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes.
I don't want to sit next to Laporte.
You're scooting me closer to him.
No, I won't.
Still need to chair.
Okay, we are here tonight. Our next item is to approve the agenda, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, adding item B, which is consider discussion of candidate qualifications.
So moved.
Support.
What is the wording again?
Consider discussion on candidate qualifications. Trustee Honey? Voting for the motion and the support to approve the agenda.
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Clerk Laporte?
Yes.
Supervisor Bowman?
Yes.
Treasurer Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Adi? Yes. Okay. Public comment? Debbie, would you like to sign up? All right. We'll move on to new business, which is consider approval to conduct second interviews for township manager for the following candidates. Mr. Dunbar at 6:10 and Mr. Klein at 6:50. As part of that review, we have already approved the scoring system that we did in the resume reviews. And I am going to recommend with consensus that after we interview both candidates, that we perform that scoring again, now that we've had a chance to discuss and hear what they have to say, and have a tally of that, so we have a record for discussion purposes when we get to discussing the candidates. I think everybody should have a copy of that there. I think Debbie also, our HR specialist, provided us a copy of the position qualifications and things for that.
Support?
Yep. Well, you're looking for, I'll say so moved on the motion, and there's your support.
Yep. Trustee Honey?
Yes.
Trustee Rush?
Yes.
Clerk Report?
Yes.
Supervisor Bowman?
Yes.
Treasurer Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
And Trustee Addy, yes. All right. Well, Mr. Dunbar, welcome. You're first up on our list at 6:10. Would you like to go use the restroom, get a drink, and then come back, and we'll be ready for you? Sure. All right.
We definitely do all on top of waters. We're good about that.
Funny.
Everybody ready with their questions? I'll try to keep mine brief.
Are we gonna go through the whole thing of
candidates introducing themselves and their background and all that good stuff, or are we just gonna go?
I think we can go right into the questions, because we've already been through that phase, you know, so, unless you would like to.
No, I'm just gonna ask like, how much you want?
Put a lot of thought in that.
Want to
Did you
negotiate?
send out any information regarding that, Debbie, on compensation requests, or?
It's in here.
Actually, I did, and I didn't
Yeah,
get
there's a
response.
spread in here.
Okay.
It's just right in here. I think that's up for discussion based upon.
No, I think Debbie also sent out to each candidate requesting their compensation request,
Oh,
you know,
I
what they
didn't- I
were
didn't see
looking for.
that part.
She didn't get a response. So.
Oh.
You sent it out
So
yesterday?
that would be a
I sent
legitimate
them out
question.
yesterday. Actually, when I spoke with them, I told them that the board requested that they send an email asking benefit requirements, salary, desired salary.
So that would be a legitimate question then. Well, that's my question, don't nobody steal it.
I've got a number one, I'm gonna ask it if it comes to me first.
And who did you send
Actually,
that,
I backed up a little bit here.
and who did you send the email to?
I sent one for, I back up, I did get one for Adam Klein. And I can print that for you.
Well, when Mr. Dunbar comes back, we'll ask if maybe he sent it, maybe we can find it and we can print that too. Since we got,
Spam.
we got 2 minutes before his interview starts.
Oh, is he sitting in there?
Yep. Oh,
We are ready.
Vanished to the hallway.
yeah, he follows directions, good.
Oh, God. That's gonna be a sad day when Rob retires.
Well, welcome back, Mr. Dunbar.
Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
Yes, thank you
Great,
for.
how are you?
Excellent, thanks for asking.
Everybody doing well and go from near 60 to 35 and 90 years old?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're gonna get started, you know, on our second interview tonight. I'm gonna break protocol and I'm gonna have Mr. Bowman ask his questions first, and I'll go and then pass it around.
Oh,
If we'd like
So
to do that.
Nobody steals his question.
I'll thank you for allowing me to chair the meeting.
okay. Mr. Dunbar, apparently, Ms. Noble sent emails out, I guess, requesting what you would want as far as compensation and benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell the board that?
Yeah, didn't she get the email?
If she didn't, we would like her, you maybe forward it to her again, because she didn't see it, so we'll have her print it off, and, but, you know,
Yeah,
and then we can also verbally hear it.
Yeah,
Here, I'll read you.
Thank you for responding on that too. She
Yeah,
was just
thank you.
checking and she didn't see.
This morning, 5:26 a.m. Good morning, Debbie. I'm all set and looking forward to tonight. Per your request, my salary requirements are within the range listed in the posting of 95 to 110. Additionally, I would be looking, excuse me, I need my glasses, but I would be looking to participate in the benefits afforded to the position as part of my total compensation package. If offered the position, I am sure we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement.
Thank you,
So,
sir. Appreciate it.
so my interpretation of that is that you're willing to take the standard benefits that, you know, we offer the current, towns
Yeah,
that
I
we
don't,
have.
all I heard was, the posting says, health, dental, optical,
Yep.
and, retirement/investment or something
Mhm,
like that.
yeah.
Unless you wanna include a car or something of my choosing.
We do
All
have a
right.
couple leftovers laying around. so.
Yeah, but I'm more like Ford GT style.
GT, you know,
There you go.
that'd be
A little
nice.
fast, right? Thank you, sir. All right, so I will, Mr. Bowman, are you
Yeah,
done with your questions?
you're good.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dunbar, you know, it looks like based on your conversation, you're self-employed, you kind of pick and choose your
Yep.
jobs and project work and things like that. You know, those are generally short-term, you know, go in, fix people's problems and come out. With Sumpter, this is more of a permanent work. How does that kind of fit into your overall plan of, you know, how you have been operating your business in your life?
Well, the consulting business was originally started back in 13 when I left TransDev. And it was in partnership with the former CEO or COO of the company. And we got together to source acquisition deals for several private equity firms. And then when my mother became ill and I had to move back to Michigan to help take care of her, you know, my career blessed me well enough that I was able to put family first and be able to take care of her, but I could supplement income with doing piecework and still have a lot of flexibility with that. And then now that I no longer have that obligation, I'm at a point in my career where I have the ability to look for something that I want to do, not something that I have to do. And I've been searching for a new place to call home for long term, and that's what brought me here is the ties that I have and the interest that I have. And so yes, I am looking for a long-term home.
Okay. As township manager, you know, one of the things that we have to do or we expect is political neutrality, right, for the residents, for the board, and things. How would you explain how you were going to maintain like political neutrality as you perform your duties?
I have my own politics, but I've never shared my politics with anybody, especially in any of my work. My politics are my own business, and
It's good business.
and I don't feel it takes a place in the workplace, and especially when you're talking in a government employment that I should be enforcing or taking sides on me, or being partisan in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Mr. Honey?
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit on what brought you to this as far as in the beginning? I mean, where did you start?
Well, I started working as a paramedic, and finally worked my way up to being a supervisor for community EMS. And within 30 days, I guess I impressed enough that I was able to get a double promotion to operations manager. So I was promoted to run the entire road operation, and additionally promoted to being the communications manager. So I ran their dispatch and their secondary PSAP operation up there we had 150 ambulances and 100 non-emergency vehicles. Continued to rise there, and when community did a joint venture with the Oakwood Healthcare System for their own ambulance company, I actually started the HealthLink EMS operation. They're no longer around now because of the Beaumont Corwell stuff, but I started that operation. Went to Metro Cars, quickly rose up to vice president through helping the business grow, winning contracts, executing on contracts. And then when Metro Cars started growing through acquisition into the Florida market, three locations in the Florida market, then I took on not only running the operation for Michigan, but then took on shared services duties for the entire corporation, which was HR. I did all of IT. I actually started up an offshore captive insurance company, and we did our own claims, so that fell under me. Did HR. When I left Metro Cars, I went to TransDev. It was Veolia at the time, but it's now TransDev, as a regional vice president for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. And about a year later, the CEO called me up. The company was growing very rapidly through acquisition, doing 2 to 5 acquisitions a year. And the communications and dispatch was crumbling. It was legacy. They weren't able to keep up. And he asked me if I would move to Arizona and try and turn it around and make it grow. So I packed up, moved to Arizona, and was able to turn that around. They had a 236% attrition rate when I got there, and within 9 months I had it down to about 80%. It was a high turnover environment. Took the Better Business Bureau rating from an F to an A, turned up all their SLA, service level agreements, as far as answering phones, the number of reservations that were made, and then consolidated 14 we had 35 locations across the U.S., so I consolidated 14 dispatch centers down into 3 regional centers, West, Central, and East. And then I also took on assessment and pricing duties for the entire corporation. So data analysis and pricing. And then you heard the rest when I talked to Matt. That's when I left there, I went into the consulting business, and so a little long answer, but that's my story.
Thank you. Perfect. Trustee Rush?
Yeah, thank you for coming back tonight. I'm trying to think how to phrase this question. Obviously, you're here for a second interview. Your resume is quite impressive. The only thing that really I'm a little bit concerned about is your lack of municipality, involvements, doing something in government. Do you think that's going to hamper you in any way in performing the duties of township manager?
Well, I'll be humble enough to say that it will be a learning experience for me, but I pick up on things very, very quickly.
Obviously.
For example, and I know this isn't a great example, when I found out the interviews were going to be in a public forum through a public meeting, I went and got the AG's Open Meeting Act's handbook, read that, so I'm pretty up to speed on that already and understand how things need to act and how you gentlemen need to act with each other. So I've never had a problem, and with my consulting is I can step into any business, pick up how it works, what needs to be done. For example, at the last interview, I talked about the Rockwell Medical. I'd never done medical product things. I've never dealt with FDA regulations before. And I was able to step in and learn the business very, very quickly, and execute on their large project that they were doing. So yes, I think there's a lot for me to learn, but regulation, as I talked about at the other interview, regulation has always fallen into my lap. So following regulation, following protocols. Obviously, my paramilitary from the EMS side of doing things. So I'm very familiar with how to navigate through that. But I think I bring a lot to the table to get up to speed and be effective very quickly while I pick up the decorum and the nuances associated with providing, doing my job in a government entity. Does that help you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's just something I just wanted some clarity on that. Again, you wouldn't be left out, hung out to dry. I mean, you got 7 board members, our staff and everything. Yeah, I think you would probably pick up pretty quickly, and I thank you for your answer.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. So,
All right, clerk report?
I'd like to defer to the end, if I may, please.
Treasurer Pattis?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of these in order. So explain your understanding of the role of township manager in Michigan, including our relationship with the township board and its key responsibilities. Kind of asked somewhat of a similar question before, but like the relationship between board of trustees and township manager.
well, the township manager is to the benefit of the board. It is the hands, eyes, ears to execute on the board's vision, their laws, ordinances, or anything that the board decides on. It's the township's manager to execute on that. It's also to run the day-to-day operation of the township, to make sure that everything's going well and everybody is executing on their individual roles, or departments are executing on their roles. Also to be the face of the township when it comes to interacting with surrounding government entities, surrounding municipalities, maybe SEMCOG, those types of things, be involved in that on behalf of the board. So it's to serve the board and their wishes and their vision, and to make things happen within the township.
Thank you. Next one, I'll limit it to 2 right now. Describe your management, how much do you know about Sumpter Township with its strengths and especially our challenges?
Well, like I said, I first moved to Sumpter Township in the late 80s, bought my house on Judd Road in '92. Lived here until I moved to Arizona in '08. Came back in '17. My family all lives here, still lives here. I'm down here every weekend visiting my family. Strengths is it's a great place to live. I enjoyed living here. It's country in origin, and the people all here are all good people. Weaknesses are, and I do want to clarify something from last week, from the other night. As I said, population was declining. It's actually not. I went to the Census Bureau and looked them. It's flat, so it's not growing from population wise. I looked at 2010, 2020, and the 2023 ACS, the American Community Survey. So it's somewhere. It's not growing by leaps and bounds. The roads, obviously, they were a sore spot when I lived here, and I know they're still a sore spot with the township or with the residents. But it's a great place to live. My family loves living here, and I think it's great that it has stuck to its roots, and that it's will have a nice. It will continue to flourish, and I think it's a great place.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. I may have one other for the one later, but defer to.
Ask it. You got no one, ask it.
Mr. Frazier, I'll let you take it up, and then Mr. Patterson may defer to another question.
Mr. Dunbar, if you were selected as the township manager under your administration, what type of growth do you see happening in Sumpter Township?
I've gone through the 2016 master plan a couple of times. I looked for a new one. I couldn't find one. So I looked at what the planning, what the boards and the planning commission have looked at for growth. As I talked about on Tuesday when I was here, brick and mortar is a difficult thing in these days and times, especially when commercial and retail environment is so large up at 94 on Belleville Road there. So beyond small niche retail opportunities, maybe in the central business district, I don't know that there's a lot of opportunity for growth there. Along the industrial corridor of Rawsonville Road there, it would hope that there might be some attraction to maybe bring in some light industrial. And, you know, the housing market's pretty tough, but it would certainly be interesting to see if there might be some developer opportunities for, you know, a little tighter, denser single-family residence along the sewer corridor. But that's all I can see at this point. I'd love to find out what the board thinks and what the township thinks their opportunities are.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chair.
I did think of a way to phrase my question, if I may, Chair.
Treasurer Patterson, you have the floor.
I was trying to think of a way to phrase the question to make it sound like we're not a problem family here, so.
You just ask it, I don't care.
The preface saying like, our township, internal township government works very well together. We don't have any internal strife. The treasurer's office, the clerk's office, supervisor's office. But with that said, if in the future, trying to be proactive in the thought process of it, as a township manager, if there were all of a sudden, let's just say the treasurer's office and the clerk's office that started to have internal strife, and two elected officials, how would you manage maybe a conflict resolution or be a part of a solution, something like that?
Well, isn't the township manager, part of the township manager's role is to be an advisor to the board?
Mhm.
And I think especially with my experience in consulting and part of my success throughout my career has been being able to advise companies, organizations, or the board is how can we work together towards a common goal, and how can we solve whatever issues there might be. Trying to figure out how I can phrase this, but you guys would be like herding cats, and how can we keep everybody together working towards a common goal? And the common goal is to have a responsive government for the citizens of the township.
Thank you.
All right.
I won't pull any
Clerk
punches.
report, you ready?
If we have to knock heads together, then we have to
Looked
knock
like you
heads
had
together.
another one.
Because we're all here for the same goal.
Thanks.
Do I have the floor?
Yes, sir.
All right, if given the opportunity for employment, how do you think your first 30 days looks like? What kind of goals or objectives?
Similar to the same question on Tuesday is obviously I want to meet with the board or individually or however and find out what your goals and objectives are individually, and also spend time with each department head and each area of the township to see exactly what everybody does, look for wants and needs, opportunities, and pick everybody's brain to see what the inner workings of the township are and what my role may be in that, how I can help, how can they help me, to just get very rapidly up to speed on what needs to be done and what would be priorities and what needs to be tackled first, if anything.
All right, so roughly in the last 4 years, if I could turn back the clock, I would tell you that our fire department's made calls of volume around 750 to 800 responses a year, right? Fast forward 3 to 4 years, we're at almost 1,500. I would say that's substantial growth.
Yes.
A lot of people moving into the community. How would you project taking care of or supporting that kind of an increase right away?
From a population perspective?
From supporting the residents standpoint, I mean, we went from, we're still a pay-on-call fire department. We have a nice-sized police department. But when you see growth happening that fast, how could you, with your background through EMS, obviously you've been involved with probably some law enforcement along the line.
Yep.
And EMS, obviously. How would you support those two departments?
Well, one of my best fortes is needs analysis and capacity and demand. So if it's overtaxing the department, obviously we're going to have to sit down with the chief and figure out what he needs. Is he staffed properly? Or is it paid callback you're using, or is it strictly volunteer?
We're pay on call.
Pay on call.
We get paid per tone
Okay.
for the fire.
You know, and that's always a challenge. How is the staffing currently? Do you have enough people to cover all your shifts and be able to make recommendations to make sure that from a public safety standpoint or from a fire and rescue standpoint is do we have the capacity to service the needs of the township, and do we need to go outside and look for mutual aid? Do we need to request like HVA, start posting up a vehicle at certain points in time? Whatever options are available.
So when you worked with community, did you work directly with any municipality for
Oh, yeah.
cost-related responses, or
Yes.
did you get into the money aspect of it?
Yep.
Of
Yep.
what it
Well,
costs-
as a
What it
paramedic.
costs the community?
Yep. As a paramedic, I was on the Farmington Hills dedicated car, and then I was in management when, this was back in the day when fire departments started bringing transporting and paramedicine into the fire department. They were all first responders at that time. So I worked with Farmington Hills when they transitioned to providing ALS in their community, and community who used to provide ALS and transport they would provide ALS, and then we would only provide transport. And then I worked with all our municipalities in providing standbys, mutual aid type issues when they reached a capacity or they didn't have any units left in their town in their municipalities to cover things. Then we would move. We worked out system status plans to be able to move vehicles in and out of municipalities to provide coverage for them and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else on the board have any other follow-up questions, or? There are none. I have one more question. It just came to me. So, I know you've been in business for yourself. Do you think there'll be a difficult transition going from kind of being your own boss to having multiple people, calling you, as a boss and asking you to do things or doing things, as a transition from kind of calling your own shots to having people call the shots for you?
Call my own shots, as in, I have to find work to do, but in any situation that I'm in, I report to the people that are paying me. I'm a very hands-on person. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves. I operate in many management styles. You can point me in the direction and I'll just take you there, or I can be as involved as you need me to be as far as taking phone calls. As Mr. Laporte probably knows, being in the EMS business or being in 24/7 business is pretty much my entire career. So answering the phone 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and it's very difficult to execute on things if we don't know what people is in their minds, their hearts, and how they want things to go. So, no, I don't,
Yeah, I guess kind of where I was going is that, you know, you could pick your jobs, right? So if something came, you could pick it here. A board member may bring something, or we may bring something to you that you really don't want to do, but you are now an employee of the township, and now you have to do it, right? It may not be something you want to do, where previously you could make the choice not to work for a company
yeah,
if you
no,
didn't
no,
like.
no, yeah,
what they do.
once there's a commitment, that's why I said, I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves, so.
I can see that by your, your job, so.
No, definitely not. There's, in every job, you know, if you want me to, like, type in a stack of paper this deep, you know, I don't know if I could do that anymore. I'm not very good at transcribing, but I'll do anything.
We have a good
That's,
optics,
you know.
we got a good optics, so you could get some new glasses. Okay, I just, that was just, you know,
Yeah, no,
something that, you know, I was thinking about that, you know, as a private-owned business, you could pick and choose when you come to a permanent employee, you're now doing what everybody else wants you to do, and you really don't have those choices. But you answered it the way I
Yeah,
expected.
it's not a matter of choice at that point. It's a matter of what do we need to do to get where we want to go.
That was a very
And I
good
have no
question.
problem doing anything.
Thank you.
That was a very good question.
All right, well, I appreciate you coming back and tolerating us again, so you got to get a good shot at, you know, who we are, and we got to get a good sense of who you are. As you know, we have another candidate coming in, and we'll be reaching back out just like we did the first time, very quickly.
Okay, so do you have any idea what's next steps from here?
The next steps would be to, you know, interview our candidate, have discussion on the candidates, and then have discussion on which direction we want to move. So it should happen, like we said before, within 48 hours, we'll have some information back to you, probably less.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, only you can decide whether I'm the right man for the job, but I assure you, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at the depth and breadth of what I would bring to the township and my ability to get up to speed and not only help the board, but help the citizens enjoy their residency in the township.
Great. Well, thank
All
you
right.
again, Mr. Number. It's great to see you again. You know,
Thank you, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, so, board, at this point, if you want to go ahead and look at, you know, filling out Mr. Dunbar's portion of this sheet, then we could take a quick break, and hopefully our next candidate will be in here shortly, because looks like we're about 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
Chair, if I may, I have a quick question too for Debbie. So I just had a question mark on the scoring criteria that we had here too. Because I saw, like, for example, like Mr. Dunbar had 18, but it's had 3.0, so we're still gonna be doing like the 1 to 5.
Yeah, the 1 to 5, yeah.
And then just on the interview score, not on a personality overall, do we do it in 2 different sections, or?
No, that's just for you guys to vote.
Okay, that's just our notes area.
Yeah.
So we just,
Because, yeah, I just saw areas
We'll do
where it
that in
says
this
total
one, this
interview
one right
score,
now.
average on the end, so
Yeah.
we're only supposed to then just
Yeah, we
figure
just gotta
out
worry about
interview score, 1 section, 1 number for
What
each.
you're gonna do, and then, you guys want me to figure that out tonight, or?
Yeah, I think we're gonna, you know, we'll do it the same thing after we get done. We'll have you tally them up and bring a new sheet back and be ready to go. So, committee, just so we're clear, as Mr. Patterson asked a question, the intent of the sheet is to only fill out the interview score. We've already done the resume review score. It would just be the section that's the interview score, and then Debbie will then take the sheets once we finish with our second interview, and then tally them for us, and then we'll be able to go on to item B, the discussion of the candidates.
Chair,
Yes, trustee Rush.
in the interest of time, like you said, maybe do a quick little break, but it looks like our next interview is here. As soon as we're set, maybe we can just
Maybe I'll
start rolling.
Get a motion to start early?
What's this personality overall? Is that?
That's, we're skipping that one.
Skipping it?
It's just for notes, it's just something that was added for notes.
Because
you
notes
know.
is right next.
It's an area for a smiley face, a flat face, or a frowny face. And those will be
Just for
average
thought,
values.
it's just for thought.
I'm gonna draw Bart's face.
Bart, don't do that, too scary.
Oh, just what he answered. How many of them we had to fill out.
Gotcha.
They're just filling out the Mr. Dunbar piece, and then once we interview Mr. Klein, we'll fill out that piece, we'll give it to Debbie, and then she'll tally everything up for the discussion phase in item B.
Unless you have a warm day and even though it got in the thirties, the thirties felt like it was in the twenties.
Wind is crazy.
So 1 through 10?
Yeah, I think they gave,
All in, I don't know,
no,
like,
That's how I screwed up here.
like certain police officers came from other agencies,
But yeah,
that other agency they can opt out.
Nobody ever gets it.
And within the range of the bond, does that mean he's fine with that?
Just how I am.
So, yeah.
I think you probably put down 4.8 or 9, won't you?
I don't know if I could do points.
Still feeling the same way.
I thought it's whole numbers, man.
But those
I
points
feel
are
like
on
crap.
because I showed you
I'd give him
before.
4.8. You know, you might be surprised.
You had some good questions, and you answered them really well.
Hey, are we supposed to talk about it?
We are.
When he said we hadn't even had any growth, that's bullshit. We've grown like 30%.
Yeah.
That's odd.
He was looking at the old, he was looking at the old census numbers.
Was that originally?
No.
That's right,
Why
about
they
most
got
of
one.
that.
Oh, I know, without a doubt, it's 30%.
Is that
The
gonna show
new
up on the
census was not showing it.
It probably won't because it was after.
Yeah, no, because it's a private entity. It's owned by.
No, it's people's names. that go by.
You think it's right?
And there's no
Go to
points, we
Treasure
can't do
Parks
like
and
a,
Speed.
something to point something.
And you know, on our
We should.
website,
I mean,
We have been.
I get it, but I don't know where that, I'm not a cop, so I don't know.
Guys, remember the mics are live and it is
I don't care.
recording.
We're having
I'm just saying.
discussion we can have anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Who's gonna,
We ain't making decisions about nothing other than John don't know anything.
all they want to control anything at us would be Debbie and Sam. I was really impressed that time.
Sorry? Yes.
I took some cold pills, hopefully my nose stops running.
Man,
What'd you think, Jim?
I tell you, a runny nose is the worst
Well, I
thing on
didn't
the
even, I
planet.
didn't even wanna come tonight, man. It's important though.
Yeah, I think we got a little better on thoroughly impressed.
I gave him a really high score. Most, he just answered, even your question, he answered really well. And that was a tough, you came up with a tough one.
He still did know how it's talked about. When you start talking about population and growth and
But,
whatever.
you know, there's some trailer parks don't show up on the.
you know that our website is also
was
so
80.
far behind that you can't get that information. That's like the master
You
plan
can't
is
get
like
it,
from
and you
two
gotta
thousand
remember the
eighteen.
trailer parks don't show up on it, that's a private entity. They don't, they don't.
Since we've updated.
Oh, yeah.
It's a private entity. I don't understand, I don't even understand why our police department spends time and our taxpayers' money.
I agree.
In there writing speeding tickets. Huh?
I totally agree.
It's all. Oh,
I'm sure he probably doesn't wanna wait out there. He'd probably like to come on in and get it over with.
Yep.
Debbie forgot to put names on these, so if everybody puts their name on, so she didn't.
So we gotta put our names on?
I will, yeah.
Gonna be Joe.
Now just wants to know what was scored.
Right.
No, but yeah, but it's not the best.
Your mic's off, but.
Debbie, if you're ready, you can bring Mr. Klein down, he knows we're gonna come and get him.
Good, yeah.
I think so.
That was not a good taste.
Stay in bed.
By the way, he has water.
Yeah, got to.
See, I did this again.
Smart mom and dad said you don't miss
All
work.
right, I'm clear then.
All right, we'll come back into our session here. Mr. Klein, if you want to come right up to the podium, and we will again start peppering you. Thank you for coming back. We've got two, I think, really good candidates that we need to whittle down here, so we need to get some extra good questions in here and move forward. So I am going to divert to Mr. Bowman again. To start it, if you would.
Okay, we're gonna go start with the.
Yeah, we've already heard your background and your everything, so we're gonna go right into the questions and get to the meat of it, and then we can then move on.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
And I'll make a motion for Mr. Honey to ask the first question.
You don't need a motion, I'll just go ahead. Mr. Honey, if you could ask your first
Gosh, I
question,
wasn't
we'll
prepared
start
for
at that end.
Well, let me think of one. I was gonna defer to the end.
I can go first.
Go ahead, that's
All
why I
right.
expected you to
All
start
right,
it out.
I threw them off, I was asking the questions first, and so, I should have told them I was gonna move it around a little bit.
You want me
so-
to go out and come back in?
Only if you do it backwards.
Touche.
all right?
Yeah, that might be difficult.
Rewind.
Okay, so, Mr. Klein, obviously in government, things change rapidly from, state policies, federal policies, county policies and such. How do you keep yourself on top of industry trends and new developments that would potentially impact your communities?
I would say, how I keep on top of things are the associations typically, MTA, MML, and then any of the business organizations, things like that. I look at legislative reviews, look at state websites, see what's coming up. If there are people emerging, you want to know what they're talking about, what they're thinking. It may come that their point of view may be more prevalent than some of the others. So, it's just I would say a lot of research, just continually reading and looking at again the different websites, talking, the different associations, meeting with some of those leaders, because a lot of times townships will experience sort of the same things, and even in different areas. Let's say it's starting on the west side of the state and it's coming over here, or starting on the north and coming south, or maybe coming up, and just all those organizations meeting with those people and just seeking out trends.
Okay, thank you. All right. Currently, you're working in Independence Township.
Correct.
Kind of describe why you want to leave them and why Sumpter would fulfill, that kind of job need. Obviously, people move because they have a job need or personal need, and they're looking for something else. So what does Independence not have that you think Sumpter has that we can provide for you, obviously, as you provide for us?
It is the higher level of leadership, I think, that is most effective. As a director of independence at the Parks and Rec Department, I was at Oakland Township. We had a township supervisor. He needed some help. And I was in one of those association meetings, and he asked me if I would come over and help him. Actually asked me 2 or 3 times, because I told him no the first couple times. It wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do. Finally, I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll come over and assist." So I did. He has since lost that election. I may not be in the future plans for the new supervisor. We have a very capable assistant there. She needs some fine tuning. I provided her that. I think she's ready to go, and I'm looking for a little more. And that's why when Sumpter Township came up, again, I mentioned the close proximity to the airport and coming down here, and my wife and all that, so it kind of fit. And that was really the main reason I filled out this application.
Okay. So as a follow-up to that, as you looked at Sumpter and you looked at our master plans and our budgets and things like that, was there one thing that kind of said, you know what, I think I really want to be part of this community?
Well, the small town, the starting out kind of thing, and then also, just the experience and the roads, and I think I can help on those sort of things that are, you are experienced. I've had experience myself with those, and I think I can help, and that's kind of why Sumpter Township. I mean, there are other places that I thought could fit. It just didn't work out. But as I read and as I look into your township, it seems as though I would be a good fit for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so I will defer to Trustee Honey now, if you'd like to ask your questions.
Yeah, you did mention in the last interview that you would be maybe look at moving this direction.
Yes.
How long do you think that would take you if you did get hired? Is that something you'd move on quickly, or?
I would probably, certainly I would look at renting, because I don't know how the home, I don't know how that's I have a son, he just came home, and he's like, "I'm buying your house." I'm like, that's great. He doesn't have any money yet. So.
Perfect buyer.
Yeah, he's got to start his businesses and stuff like that. So the moving closer will be, I'm sure, a rental first. As a matter of fact, I looked around on Zillow and things like that. There's some spots in Wyandotte. I didn't see a lot of rental here, but I'm sure once I start look a little bit deeper, it would be. And I only mentioned Wyandotte because I'm familiar with it. I don't know if I mentioned I'm a boater. I have a slip in Detroit at the Milliken Marina. So I'm there most of the summer, weekends. So I could stay on it for between May and October. Yeah, October 1st, yeah. So May and October, or bring it down here a little closer, stuff like that. So, yeah, I've looked around. How long it would be temporary first. That house would have to sell, and then purchasing. I don't know if we look at a condo or something. We're at that point in life where, I don't want to do maintenance anymore, or lawns, stuff like that. I don't need a big yard. I don't have any pets, so I would feel like the residents would be, or at least renting would be somewhat quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, how quick?
Absolutely.
Mr. Honey, are you finished? All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Rush?
Yeah. Thanks again for coming back tonight.
Well, thanks for giving me the invite too.
I was trying to figure out the best way to phrase this question, but just spitting it right out. What is your plan for the first 90 days? And in relationship to what Trustee Honey asked, I could see your first 30 or 60 days spending a lot of time here, going to some of the sub-meetings like Parks and Rec, attending the Conference of Western Wayne, which right now I'm representing the township at, which is very important.
Right.
What's your plan for the first 90 days?
It would, the first 90 days is to make all those introductions, meet all those people, stakeholders. I've done this a couple times where I've come in, and I usually meet with all the employees that I possibly can, set up a time, let's talk. And I usually tell them a little bit more about me and how I operate. So don't really get into like what's worse, what's bad, because that's coming. But I just want to get out on the right foot. So I got to meet with all the stakeholders, and then like as you said, those external meetings. I got to meet with all those stakeholders, and I, again, look for the informal leaders, look for the formal leaders, and then start identifying some issues that need to be maybe immediately taken care of. So 90 days, it would be nice to have a couple of those already to start working on, and start moving in the direction of what where the council wants to go with the township, and at least have a couple of those identified. And start working on, just get to work and meet, like I said, talk to everybody, listen, and we'll start moving. I don't see a lag time. Usually I come in and let's start identifying issues or procedures and processes and things that need to be fixed, fix them. If they don't need to be fixed, we leave them alone, and we keep going.
Back to you, Chair, I'm good.
Clerk Report, are you deferring again?
No, I'm good. So, thanks for coming again. You're a Parks and Rec Director at Independence Township?
Independence, yes.
Okay. As a Parks and Rec Director, which program do you think has had the greatest impact for the community in Independence?
I would say in Independence, our recreation programs for the youths and even adults, they have a huge recreation program. When I came to Independence, I grew up in Independence. It was one of my first jobs. I was an umpire. So I worked for them, like, I don't know, I was 18. I'm not 18 anymore. So, but they've continued that particular program, and they're known for, their soccer, their softball, their baseball. They have a good senior program. They're known for that too. But I think the recreation is the biggest part of the parks, recreation and seniors. They have nice parks. Maybe let's see, one large park is very nice. They have another one that was they're using a building. They're converting it to more like to have entertainment, not necessarily entertainment, but like weddings, and have a venue, stuff like that. So they're moving in that direction, and they have a third one that's it's kind of like more like a pocket park style, but it's the recreation that they work most at, and that has the most effect on the community.
Well, currently Sumpter Township doesn't have baseball teams or soccer teams for recreation.
Okay.
We don't have any little league teams that play in the township. So how, with your experience, do you think you could bring something like that, or help the Parks and Rec start a program?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, you can look at starting those, and I can reach back to Independence, and we can go to scale and do exactly how we did these particular things. May not know how we started, but we certainly we know, like soccer, youth soccer, all those sorts of things weren't there in Independence to begin with. So then, who did we partner with? What soccer groups did we come in with to start a program here? And so you start small and build on that. Yes, I can certainly at least introduce the right people and see if we can get something done.
Okay, over the last 3 years or so, we've had a 30% increase in population and 30% in selected communities here. A lot of that population has taken a strain on our police and fire department. Being former law enforcement, do you think your experience could help facilitate some of that strain and help problem solve ways to
Oh, so
ease
you
it?
want me to go back out on the road, or?
No, not really. We don't want to pay for another officer, unless you're going to do it for free.
Certainly, I can assist, and I, in other spots, I know in Oakland, it gets a little, they were the sheriff's department, so it was a little less. But when they see a chief come in, sometimes, and I know I've been at other interviews where the chief, like, did not want me there, because they don't want that, I guess, information or experience and discussions. But yeah, I'm always happy to talk to police chief or officers on how I think things should get done, how policing is done. I'm still active, as I mentioned, at the FBI National Academy. I still attend there. They have a fall, summer, and then it's fall, spring, and a summer conference. So I still go to those. I still talk to those guys. Those are they're all former chiefs around here. A lot of them, Livonia, Redford, I know, Northville, I think, but it's quite a bit here in Wayne County, and so yeah, we still discuss, talk about police. My dad was a police officer, so I've been in that law enforcement business for a long time. So I can talk, and we can look if it's delicate, but yes, if I get police chief on board, then yeah, we can look at things. I can certainly dissect and look at how we're doing things, what could we do better.
Yeah, I don't think we're looking for help actually to run the police department.
Right.
No.
I thought it was just to help guide.
Yeah, if you need to bounce something off me, then yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
I ran, and Lansing Township was like similar. It was extremely, White Lake is a little more rural, and Lansing Township was a lot more urban, and there's a lot different things that were happening there than in White Lake. So I have a taste of both.
Have you had any interaction with county officials at all where you're at in
Here?
Independence?
In Independence, more in
Work
Oakland.
with the county officials?
Yeah. When I was in Oakland, and it was COVID, and they were doing the ARPA and all that, and so I had to meet with a lot of those folks as far as splitting up the money, and then they had some other programs they wanted for small businesses and things like that. And we had to identify the small businesses, and the names escape. It's not Dave Woodward. There was another gentleman below him, and then the chief of staff for the executive. We had a lot of interaction with them, and of course I've known the sheriff for a while. I actually know, I went to the FBI Academy with Ray, who is, I believe, the sheriff here in Wayne County. So, I don't have much experience with Wayne County officials here, but county officials are county officials. You can usually get to know them, talk to them, meet them at the Western Wayne.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much. Back to you, Chair.
All right. Supervisor Bowman?
Okay, I'm a strong believer, we want to preserve our country feeling here, but I'm a strong believer that we need to create revenue by bringing new businesses to Sumpter Township, to create jobs for residents, to create tax revenue for the township. How would you be able to help out with that? Or do you have any experience doing that? Any development experience?
Well, I've had a lot of experience, not necessarily with attracting businesses. Oakland Township was not in that particular venue. They were more the preservation and didn't want any business. But I thought about your question when you asked me that a couple nights ago, and retail, some small office as long as it fits. And I was thinking, well, we have the airport close by, so, I don't know if we could tie into that, but certainly it would be something to investigate, or transportation. I mean, there's stuff coming in and out all the time. You're close to, 96 or 94 and 275. Some of those things might work in the township. So you go out and investigate. You look for, there's certain economic groups, better business bureaus, just those groups are how you're going to find, the businesses that might fit for this particular township. So just go out and look. I just saw something the other day on the state website. Talked about certain groups that might want to move in. That I think they were looking at solar, and then I don't know if it was cannabis, but I think that was another. The state put out certain grants that they'll give you for these particular businesses that maybe you want to start in your township. I don't know where we're at on that yet, but certainly that's how you go out and solicit it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Treasurer Patterson, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Klein, I was a little bit remiss last time in asking you specific governmental municipality type questions because of your history with law enforcement and government, but try to circle back on some of those now.
Sure.
So when it comes to budgets, our township, our municipal budgets, we're in that spot here in the next month where we're putting together our budget. But as a township manager, if you could describe your approach in assisting with, or kind of spearheading, getting departments together and assisting in that development of a budget for a municipality.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, Oakland Township is the largest probably process that I've been involved with, and so it started out with meeting with the financial director, and then meet with financial director. You're looking at assumptions and revenues, and then you're going to take those numbers and you're certainly going to review past budgets. You're going to look at what projects might be coming up for each department, and you're going to meet with the department heads. I met with every department head. The financial director and myself met with each department head. We went over their budget, and then to fit it into the larger budget. And then we had budget workshops with the township board. I think we had 3 or 4, and we had each department head at that particular come up and explain what they're looking for, what they're what they think we want to do with this particular. Maybe there's a larger it's equipment purchase, something like that. Why do we need this? And just kind of get those explanations so everybody's on the same page. And then after the workshops are done, then we make the adjustments, come back in, present it, have the public come in. They want they may have comments also, and usually the workshops are open. You have the public come in, maybe they have some questions or responses or some, directions, strategies that we may want to take. And then, put it all together at the end and have you guys vote on it. What's that?
And the sausage is made then.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And I apologize on number 2 if you answered the question before, but I don't remember it. I don't have it in my notes. But have you ever applied for grants before? And if so, if you can tell us what that experience was.
Yes, that was a question. I don't know, somebody had asked it, but
I looked at my notes, but I didn't have it in my notes, so I apologize.
MNRTF grant, one in Oakland. We were just working one in Independence, but that shut down with the elected official losing the election. So we're not going forward with that one. And then participate. So the MNRTF grant, I think that was 3-point-something million, and that was for an acquisition of property for recreational purpose. And then as I had mentioned, one of the questions was, have I worked with them? And I have, in Independence, we had several of those grants on a particular piece of property, and they had converted one of the buildings, and they weren't supposed to. So I had to work with the state to try and get them to understand that this really wasn't a conversion and that we didn't have to mitigate it. So, yeah, I worked closely with the DNR on those particular grants. I've done smaller ones for the MMRMA, which security, and then I believe it was in-car cameras for the police department. And then I've also done the federal for the vest, for the vests.
Thank you. Last question. I asked this of the previous candidates as well. So, how would you handle conflicts within different governmental departments? Being obviously the township manager, like how do you help assist that if maybe there could be interdepartmental differences, squabbles, whatever the case may be,
Yeah,
if something
certainly.
ever comes up? How would you do that in your role?
Well, typically, you have conflict. I like to get everybody together. I want to listen to both sides. I want to try and understand both sides. And then it's typically the answer someplace in the middle. You know, not someone's totally right on this side and totally right on this side. It's somewhere in the middle, and then we work on those compromises that we're all comfortable with to get to a solution. And I keep working at it until it gets to that point. If we have to take a break, we take a break. We come back, and I work as kind of the mediator for those particular conflicts.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Back to you, Chair.
Trustee Frazier, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, Mr. Klein. Just got one question for you.
All right.
What's one challenge that you can identify with Sumpter Township, and how would you address it?
All right. I can't shut that off.
With the 30% increase, that is something I did not read and was not really aware of. So I could see that and putting strain on resources. So getting additional revenue, it seems to be that could be an issue. In reading the past of it, it looks as though some of the streets, the roads, the services. I don't know. There's a problem with getting Wi-Fi, but it looks like we might be working on that with the fiber optics stuff. So it's just growing pains. It seems like there's a lot of different little areas to identify, but usually dirt roads, infrastructure, sewer, water. Those, I need to get. I don't want to presuppose anything or come in and say, well, I know this is a problem, because I need to listen and hear what people have to say. So I don't want to guess at anything, but typically township that just had that much population, you're going to have strain on services. So you're going to have to address those.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, before we let you take that nice drive home.
I took 275 today, so it wasn't as bad as 23 was a lot worse. I'm used to driving 275 when I worked in White Lake. The courthouse was in Novi, so to get from White Lake down to Novi, I almost took the exact same route to get down here.
Any other board members have another question or follow-up? All right. Well, as what happened in the last one, we're going to.
Yeah, this is what you told me last time.
Yes,
and then you
get to our discussion, and hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, you'll hear what the next move is.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you again for
Thank you for
having me
coming.
out.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Klein.
All right, committee, I would ask that you fill out your township manager search interview score. We'll pass that to Debbie. We'll take a quick, short break, and then we'll come back and jump on item B.
Still working, I'm still thinking, sorry. There's no,
You don't
we
need our
can't
name
do
or
the
anything
points or
on this,
anything
do
like
you?
that, right? We can't do the points or whatever, like you did, you gave it like a 4.2, like we can't do a point, it's just a
I
meeting
did.
number. Oh, did you?
I did.
Well, I'm gonna do that then.
Well, look to your left.
I'm just gonna add them all up and divide by 6, or 7.
Okay, gotcha.
No, not Frazier.
So look to my left, I'm like,
me.
On your paper.
I did, but.
Yeah, I'm
it's
like, I'm
1
to the
through
left.
5, so-
It's all right, Don, you get passed tonight.
The truck don't leave the building very quick, I'm gonna be out of here.
Denied. He's been too used to saying that recently.
House fire.
House fire, you say?
Trailer or house?
Trailer.
Turn your mic off.
Yeah, we got 4 people. One person on scene already.
What part?
Russellville Woods.
They still have a lot of older trailers. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sell out, sell all my stock, sell all my equipment, get on government assistance, and buy me a trailer.
Live high in the hog.
Don't have to cut grass, don't have to do shit.
Nothing.
Just travel.
Oh, man, I tell you, I just feel like I ran over. Somebody hit me with a truck.
I hope you feel better.
Would they go to get a sneak peek at the scores or what?
I don't think Mr. Klein did as good as he did the first time. You too? Didn't impress me, really. I mean, his law background, you gotta respect that, but I don't think he has any direct, he missed the point.
One thing I really liked was the Parks and Rec thing. But that's what he is, Parks and Rec Director.
Yeah, but that's kinda
That
crazy.
would help us.
Huh?
That would help us. We don't have baseball teams, soccer teams. I like it, it'd be cool.
You're never gonna have the population to pull in Little League and that, cause we had that here at one time. I coached Little League and umpired it.
I was gonna ask him what he thought about bingo.
Yeah, but bingos, we've got a ton, I talked to a customer this morning, and I mentioned that that's looking for it happening. She says, oh, please let me know when it's happening.
Well, I mean, I think we got the population for soccer teams, or at least,
Soccer is.
At
If
least
you can tie it into Van Buren, cause that's why it used to be, our Little League was their Little League, and we played down here at this.
well, that's what I'm saying, you could host games and, you know, you could be part of it with a team out this way.
And we had a few teams out this way, actually.
On Beck Road over at Camp.
You know, that's where they're playing them all now. They used to play them behind the high school and down here.
That's the soccer capital of the world.
I just, I would think it'd be hard to, we could maybe extend them out to here and have some teams, but trying to do our,
69 acres on Rossville Road. 69 acres.
soccer field,
Soccer field, beach,
paddleball,
you name it.
yeah.
Mr. Bowman,
Tennis
keep the
court.
digging. I keep telling you, keep
I
the
know,
digging.
dig ponds for a beach. Rossville Beach,
Rossville Beach.
charge $10 a head for non-citizens.
And take no grants to where you can close it off to
You
non-citizens.
could dig a 10-acre pond over there, okay, which would raise the property value twice, minimum, and make $1 million doing it,
Selling the dirt.
selling the dirt. Maybe even more than $1 million. I know somebody that would start digging in 30 days if we okayed it.
Who, Todd Wallace or Farmer?
He would probably be a part of hauling it out. Well, no, Dan's Dan's excavating.
Oh, I know Dan.
You know how big he is.
Oh, yeah.
He's a multi-billionaire, okay? He's got more trucks than Carter's got peanuts. And he'll come and get it. And he knows the right people, and so does Diversified Excavating. Him and Dan are like two peas in a pod. They're always in, Missouri? Dan owns a big multi-million-dollar home there with a 80-foot cigarette boat,
So back in the day, when Ken Summers wanted to dig the pond on Judd Road, they fought him hard. Because he already had a deal set up to sell the sand to the dumps, because they were covering up their stuff with it. He won in court, I believe. He finally won, and he dug it, and he sold it. I believe they're always looking for dirt.
Even private businesses like Bush and Son, they would buy it, but Dan's Excavating would buy every shovel full.
We'll take it all.
Bring in the equipment to haul it out.
And he'll come and get it. All you have to do is.
But we tend to have a problem with taking dirt out of our township, which I don't get it. We have a problem with taking dirt out of our township because it's low. No, that's why you got problems every time that somebody wants, they don't want you, but they don't want you to sell none of the dirt. I know it. Hey, I know it, but they don't want us. That's the big problem they have with people with ponds. They want them to keep most of the dirt on the property. Oh, you can make some money. On the dirt, big money. Yeah.
We could dig a lake on that big piece of property we have.
That's what we're talking about, and then sell the dirt.
I'd love to excavate, if the DNR lets us, Benody Pond and make it deeper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of area there you could make it a lot deeper.
Well, you wouldn't make money off that.
Yeah, you wouldn't get enough dirt out of that to
You could
make
do
money.
Lawsonville with 69 acres, make a million and a half.
Get this meeting moving.
Because Dan's Excavating would take every shovel you could get out of it. Oh, come on, don't rush me. Once it's certified by the state, the sand.
So you're already
All this highway work going on, 96 just started.
all your for indoor stuff.
Nothing
else. Yeah.
Would, you think the board
No,
would
I
entertain
gotta
something like
replace the
that?
motor in the box truck, it blew up.
We could turn it into another
Did
park.
you buy that? You?
I bought it, yeah.
Exactly. Plus you could, the money you got out of it would pay to put the bike path trails and you'd have a beach already.
So you're gonna have an engine put in it?
It would pay to develop the
Oh, you
park.
bought a brand new truck?
No, brand new.
Oh, engine?
Not only that, it's.
Oh, you're
very
good at
good.
that?
I've looked at it a
Oh,
million
wow.
times. We've been looking at it lately.
Nice. You're capable of doing
I
that.
don't know
You're
much
saving yourself
exactly,
some
but
big
you
ass
make
money.
Oh, yeah,
boatload of
very
money
much.
just off the lumber
Right.
that comes out of there.
I rebuilt,
Lumber's gonna be expensive here pretty soon.
Is that when it tears loose?
I rebuilt that whole thing.
Although he keeps backing them off, he backed off on
I used to do a lot of stuff when I was younger, and I don't
give me
none
all
of
the,
it now.
all the ones too, for the pack.
Yeah, we just got
Could do
where
that.
drywall's going up 6%.
Scores, and I'm putting the results on top.
Oh, I got you. You make sure you collect them at the end.
Oh, you want me to touch my?
Well, we should.
What did I do?
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure.
Oh, God, darn it.
Oh, that was close.
Thank you.
I didn't know I was supposed to put a name on it.
All right, so if I could get a motion to consider discussion on candidate qualifications.
So moved.
Support that, support.
Trustee Honey?
Yes.
Trustee Rush?
Yes.
Clerk Laporte?
Yes.
Supervisor Bowman?
Yes.
Treasurer Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Addy, yes.
It's cold.
Chair, I have a concern. I've voiced it outside, I've voiced it publicly, that we started the process, we went through we went through the scoring criteria, all of us collectively, if you fill out our scores, I like that scoring criteria. My specific, maybe a high-ranking candidate doesn't score the rest of it. That's what I think, I love about this process. So even with the results tonight where that came in, I was like, oh, that's surprising. It's not mine, but it's the collective of the board. My concern, to get back to my point, is that we still have one candidate that when we started this, that's the high-ranking candidate of the four that we selected. One already took a position someplace else. We had two backups. Of those candidates, Mr. Ken Martin is one of the, I think, is the only one. Nope, he's not the only one. He is one of two that scored had 7 out of the 8 boxes checked. He was in the top 2, 25 and 25 for the other two. Extensive still, again, too, when it comes to municipal management of government, was one of are the key things. I still think that we should interview him at some point. I don't feel like we need to be in a rush, but again, that's just my support. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'd like to make a motion to at least consider still interviewing him.
No, not at this time. Right now, we're considering the discussion of the candidate qualifications, so we're not open for motions on that. So I think we should go through and have the discussion, what we think on the qualities of each candidate, have those discussions, and then, once we close out that item, then we can move on to
Chair?
to motions.
Can I ask a question? Isn't that kind of what we just did by giving them another number?
But now, that's just one tool to talk about the qualifications of the candidate. So that's not what we're using as the final thing. It's just a tool so we can see where everybody's at. Now we have discussions, on it. I don't know if Debbie, did you average all the scores?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm talking about the first scores and then the second scores?
No, I can
Yeah.
do that and
So it's just a tool. If you use the original score plus the new score,
Yep.
And average those two and look at that too, but it's just a tool. This is just a tool to look at. This is not, how we decided to pick candidates. We wanted to use this as a tool to evaluate candidates, and now we have discussion on that. So you could make your decision based on that, but, if you wanted to discuss any qualifications or things you liked about a candidate, now would be the time to do that.
Chair?
Yes.
I'm somewhat in agreement with Bart. Martin will be back in town very quickly. I think we should set up an interview with him. The two that we have right now for finalists, they're very good candidates, but I hate to miss the golden nugget by not waiting for a few more days. That's just my opinion.
All right, well, I'll wrangle us back in. Item B is for us to discuss the
Well,
qualifications. Once we do that discussion of the qualifications of the candidates that we interviewed, then we can look at other options and motions on the candidates. Yes.
So discussing the qualifications of the candidates, that's what, I have no problem talking about the qualifications of them, if that's what we're gonna be limited to the discussion on. The qualifications, I think that both are qualified, but both have kind of got their own unique perspective when it comes to, one's very strong business perspective, the other one's more stronger, obviously, in law enforcement with a lot of municipal experience. To be honest, I had some tonight where I was thinking favorably in a candidate with this, but then they underperformed in one area, but overperformed in another area. So I still don't have a clear opinion. I guess my overall feeling is that nothing has knocked it out of the park for me, as the phrase goes. I don't mind discussing further, if we want to just talk about all the positives, is that what you're asking for us? Just the positives of each candidate, or?
I'm not asking any board member to do anything specific, other than this is a section of the meeting that we set aside for discussion of each candidate, what you thought was good about a candidate, what you thought that was bad, so other board members could hear. If you don't have any of that discussion, we can close it out. It was just the opportunity to
Got it.
maybe pitch for a candidate you liked better, to say what you thought was good about them, or, you know, I wouldn't suggest it, but pitch, you know, something negative about a candidate that you didn't like. But, I agree with, Treasurer Patterson that both candidates are I think are fantastic.
They're great.
You know, Kevin has great business sense. He's got great knowledge. He seems to be able to, catch on, to things very quickly. That's his business. Mr. Klein has done it. He's been here, he knows municipalities, so he doesn't have the learning curve. So you're right, they both have fantastic benefits. And so, you know, our job here tonight is to discuss those qualifications, then make a decision. We put out a township manager qualification, and we need to look at that and say, okay, where do they hit on the, on our chart that we put together. So, you know, as we look at the chart, we had, you know, initially Adams on the resume, just strictly resume review, right? We don't know the guys till we talk to them and hear what they have to say. Which both of them, I gotta tell you, impressed me very much on how they speak and their ability to talk. You know, Adam had a 4.2, Mr. Klein, and Kevin had a 3.0. But now, as we got a chance to hear them, it has now swung to a 3.9 average score for Mr. Klein and a 4.1 for Dunbar. So there was, you know, a swing, and he interviewed well, right? I look at these, he interviewed well, a little bit better than Mr. Klein, but Mr. Klein's resume scored better with looking at what we were looking for originally when we put out the job qualification.
Yep.
So it definitely doesn't make it an easy discussion.
Chair, if I may add this too as well, just to be clear, we feel like we're being ultra critical, which we are, of each individual. And just like my personal opinion is that if we had no township manager and either one of the candidates came in, I would be happy with either one of the candidates. I think that they possess the skills to fill in that role. But again, with that being said, we still have somebody out there that I think that still is within our first scoring criteria that we need to interview.
Chair.
Clerk, Laporte, you have the floor.
Thanks. Yeah, I got both the guys pretty even. I think if you could blend the two together to make one solid person would be fantastic. Again, I agree that Kevin seems to have a stronger business sense, but Mr. Klein, without a doubt, has got the municipal structure behind him. He kind of totally gets it. I think they both get it, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like we've got ourselves bottlenecked into a bucket, looking at two little fish swimming around, trying to figure which one we want when we have more opportunities. But I don't want to lead it just to Mr. Martin. I mean, we've had resumes come in, so we need to collectively decide as a board outside of this discussion if we want to stop taking resumes, and should we start looking at all the resumes that we have right now? I mean, if we're gonna move beyond these two candidates, and I'm saying if, I think we have to ask ourselves, are we gonna just open that up for one more, or everybody that's put in an application since then, or submitted a resume? I mean, you have to be objective in what you're gonna be looking at. That's what I'm saying. But I like both the candidates. I think they both got really strong points. I like the Parks and Rec community activism through Mr. Klein, and I like the business sense of Mr. Dunbar. But again, I feel that we shouldn't be in nothing, like we just pointed this out at the very first meeting, nothing happens fast in municipalities.
Yep.
And Tim said it himself, we only have meetings every 2 weeks. So, I mean, my 2 cents.
Chair, if I may follow up again too.
Trustee Patterson, you can now have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, again, just, I agree with Clerk Laporte, and But as far as to answer that question, like what would the next step be? Again, I very impressed with both candidates, nothing taken away from them. In our original scoring criteria, we have a top 4. I would say that at that point, if we interview Ken Martin and we all feel collectively the same thing, like, then I say, then maybe we go back and open up to the other ones that have been coming out of recent too. I mean, as far as, like, I just made personal inquiry just because I've never met, talked to, don't know Mr. Martin at all. Just through our HR specialist, you know, just asked like, what is his availability? Getting back in on the weekend, first day back at work on Monday, has a prior engagement, actively involved in his Parks and Rec, doesn't want to, you know, negate that, said I can be available on Tuesday or any day after that. So like maybe if we wanted to come in early for an early board meeting, have an interview of just him, could give him an hour, go right into the board meeting, and I don't feel like we should be rushed in a decision, because again, too, like I've had other board members have had further conversation with our current township manager, super gracious, not looking to just leave us in a bad spot. I'm very appreciative of it, the rest of the board is, I'm sure, too, as well. He's not like even though he said, hey, I want to retire, he's let us know that that's his heart's desire. We need to honor that. We don't want to keep him here longer than need be, but he's like, hey, if you guys need me for another couple weeks, couple months, let me know. I'm here. He's a resident, and we love and appreciate him. So, but again, too, just to get back to Mr. Martin, I think that it would be prudent to give him at least the one interview, and then collectively, he might blow us away, he might not.
Chair?
Trustee Rush, are we gonna keep it to the topic?
We're discussing.
I mean, the candidates.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 candidates right now. So we should keep the
Well,
discussion.
I
to the
guess
2
what I'm gonna
candidates.
say then, we've had 2 interviews with them. Everybody pretty much knows where they're at. But I have to agree with Treasurer Patterson. that Mr. Martin was in our first group, top 4, and I don't wanna see us make a mistake.
Well, with that, if nobody has anything else to say about the 2 candidates that we interviewed, I will recommend that we move beyond the discussion of the candidate qualifications, and we can then discuss motions.
I would make a motion, Chair, if I may, that we interview Mr. Martin, say Tuesday at 5 o'clock, an hour before the regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
With that, I would ask, Mr. Patterson, that you amend your motion to at least include the latest candidate that we received.
Which would be,
What was the gentleman's name or lady's name that we received, township manager?
Sherry Lawson.
Chair, if I may, like, I'm not willing to amend my motion because they never even went through the original scoring criteria, so we don't even know where they would be. I've not reviewed, looked at, had an interview to even know how to score the thing, so like, or not, yeah, I mean, we scored it before we did the interviews, but I would like to have my motion stand as it does.
Okay, the only reason I brought that up was because our posting does say that resumes will be accepted until we fill the position.
Right, I understand. We can still continue, like, so maybe we need to have that discussion off separate, but my motion still stands that I think we need to interview Mr. Martin, Tuesday, 5 o'clock.
And I second it.
Trustee Honey?
No.
Trustee Rush?
Yes.
Trustee Laporte?
No.
No.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes?
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Addie?
Don't you hate the pressure?
Well, I have to vote no because
apologize.
I want, and I made the commitment to want to interview the next candidate. If we're gonna interview one, we should entertain the ones that we have. So with that, I'll make a motion to close out the candidate application process as of midnight tonight.
Support.
Support.
Call for the question.
Chair, can I, are we saying that you're saying that we're gonna go with more than one person in this case, or?
What I said was we're closing out the resumes coming in, so we won't have to consider any more resumes coming in at this point. We'll close out the application process as of midnight tonight. That's
So we will be deciding on one or two, one or
of
the other,
the ones that we've already received.
that these two here.
So we're saying that by closing it out, Chair, what you're making a motion is that we do not have the ability to interview anybody else, that we're closing, we're not accepting any more resumes, and we only get to choose from these two.
No, I'm saying that we are only closing the resume acceptance for this position at the township at midnight tonight. Has no bearing on who we interview, any other motions for additional interviews that would come through. It's strictly to end our search at this point and only accept resumes through midnight tonight.
You have a motion and support already.
Well,
Yep.
we're still in discussion, though, Chair, if you may.
Chair, if I may, basically what he don't want to happen is that we keep going back and saying, well, we just got this resume, let's interview this person. We have a group of resumes already.
We can always open it
We're
back
going
up
through.
Trustee Frazier.
if it ever came to that. Wait for him to acknowledge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we will get a chance to interview Tuesday night.
No, not as of yet, because the
No.
motion.
No.
So let's finish this motion and then we'll have the discussion. So trustee Honey?
Well, okay, well.
Oh,
I
to
still
close the.
thought we had time for
I
discussion.
vote yes on closing the taking in new ones.
So,
Yes.
Chair, are we,
Yes, I'm
Closing
making a
discussion.
motion, I'm making a motion to move the item.
so we have no further discussion?
No further discussion on it. All we're doing is closing the resume receipt process is all we're doing. Trustee Rush?
Yes.
Trustee Clerk Laporte?
Yes.
Supervisor Bowman?
Yes.
Trustee Addy, yes?
No.
Trustee,
Yes.
now, if anybody would like to make a motion to open the interviews, which I will do, open an interview for Ken Martin and our latest candidate on Tuesday night.
I'll support it.
Any discussion?
Chair?
Other than I'm confused, but okay.
I guess it's better than nothing, but again, I have to go back to what Treasurer Patterson said. You know, the second interview, other than Martin, I mean, wasn't even part of the initial process. I want to see what Mr. Martin's got, so I guess I'll have to compromise, and you know, I want an interview with that guy.
What time are we talking?
We'll set that after we get a
Yeah.
consensus. We don't have enough yeses to make the motion fly.
Chair,
What's the motion again?
So-
If you could repeat the motion, Chair?
The motion is to, on Tuesday, interview Ken Martin and the latest candidate, two candidates, yes.
Came in.
So 3 total or 2?
Oh, man.
No, come on.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Trustee Rush, you already voted yes, so. On the original motion.
No,
to
not if
interview.
we're doing
Let's do it.
3.
Come on.
I only approved 2.
I know
Now
you
we're
made-
going to 3.
Then vote no on the motion so we can move on.
Me? Start?
I'll start with you.
No.
Clarification, Chair, is it 2 people or 3?
I made the motion for one.
It would be 3 now.
No. I'm a no on 3.
Is it one or two?
I would have to do some research just to make sure. I mean,
I'm pretty sure we received 2 so far.
there's
If it's
a
2,
couple
I'm
just
good.
recently that-
It's 2 additional including Ken Martin. Ken Martin's in the original group, we've received 2, I believe, I'm
nominal.
pretty sure.
Last week.
You're talking about, yeah, I know.
Treasurer Patterson?
No,
Oh, we gotta forget, we gotta.
Trustee?
Doubtful, yeah.
All right. So we have no interviews coming up Tuesday.
Chair, I'd like to make
Motion
another
for
motion.
adjourn?
I'd like to make
No.
another motion,
Voted
Chair.
yes. I
Sure.
voted yes.
I'd like to make another motion. Unless we're adjourning. Now that we have closed the candidates, I'll remake the motion that we're not receiving any more resumes. I'd like to make another motion that we interview Ken Martin on Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Hold on,
5 o'clock.
before we move forward, that we cannot have a support on that motion. You already made the motion, has been denied by the board. You cannot make the same motion again, if I'm incorrect,
Chair,
Rob.
if I may, that happened at the last meeting where yours failed on the first one and it got re-voted on the second one.
But it is a different motion, different thing. Am I correct, Rob, that
Same
once you make a motion and it fails, that you cannot make the exact same motion? That was why,
Reconsideration can only be made by a party in the prevailing side. There's been so many motions. I
yeah.
can't.
The reason I did it the way I
So-
did was so we could get Mr. Martin interviewed, because you had to change the motion. You couldn't make the same motion for the same person.
So in that original motion that he made that failed, who voted? Sam, do you have that? It would have been Mr. Adi's motion, or Mr. Patterson's motion originally.
Motion to interview Mr. Martin at Tuesday at 5.
Yeah.
I have, no for Honey, Report.
Motion failed.
And then I have, Rush, Patterson, and Frazier for yes, and then Adi, I didn't catch yours, I don't think you said.
He voted no.
Was it no?
Yeah. So those 4 no votes, they're in the prevailing party. They can make a motion to reconsider, because you're in the prevailing party. You can make a motion to reconsider, and if that passes, then the issue's back on the board.
That's why I made the motion the way I did, because I knew that.
Well, okay, so I go back to the previous meeting. You made the motion, it failed, you made the same motion again, and it passed. Whatever we need to do, like,
Tim needs to make the motion.
okay, then somebody else would need to make the same motion.
The motion would be to reconsider.
Apparently you're saying I can't make the motion again.
The prevailing side, look, somebody called a point of order, whatever happened last meeting, I don't know. But he calls a point of order from the standpoint that says you have to be, that we've already had this motion. And I'm saying there is a way to do it, and that is whoever was on the prevailing side of that motion, which were the no votes, any one of those 4 can make a motion to reconsider. If the board says yes,
Got it.
then we're back on for that issue. If
So
the
who
board
are the-
says no, then it's done.
So who are the no votes again?
Mr. Adi, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Laporte, and Mr. Honey, I believe.
Got it. So either of the no votes that previously voted no could,
They can ask to be reconsidered because they're on the prevailing side. If the minority could always do it, we'd be here all night.
got it,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Clerk Report, would you like to make a motion?
No.
No.
Since I was on the prevailing side, I will make a motion to interview Ken Martin on Tuesday,
Support.
since there was no taste to interview
Would the
anyone.
record reflect that that's a motion to reconsider?
Yes,
So the motion is to reconsider the motion that failed a moment ago, made by a voting member on the prevailing side, Mr. Adi. So if you would, just call that question as to reconsider.
yes, thank you for the clarification.
okay.
I will recall the motion to interview Ken Martin on Tuesday at 5:30.
All right, the motion would be to reconsider, and I guess you're putting 2 motions together, to reconsider and to interview Mr. Martin at 5 o'clock on Tuesday for the township manager's position.
Yes, 5 o'clock is what I
All right,
said.
so they're kind of together.
I may have misspoke. I
That's
meant
okay.
5 o'clock.
Yep, and I support it.
All right. So there's been a motion to reconsider and to interview Mr. Martin at Tuesday at 5 o'clock for the township manager's position. You can
Mr.
call.
Honey?
No.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Mr. Laporte?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
No.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Yes.
And Adi is no.
So, motion
carried.
passes,
Yeah, motion carried.
I think.
I'm still thoroughly
So
confused.
reconsider was approved, and the motion to interview Mr. Martin at 5 o'clock on Tuesday has been approved.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Chair, if I may, I just want to say, during my tenure as a trustee, this is probably the toughest meeting I've ever been in with fellow board members, and I want to congratulate everybody that I'm here working with. What a pleasure it is to get through what we've had to go through. Back to you, Chair.
Yes, yeah, that was tough. There was a lot of confusion back and forth and negotiating through motion. So I do commend because we did it peacefully and
It was good.
Chair, if I may too as well, thank you, Trustee
Yeah.
Lottie, for chairing the meeting. And even though like there was disagreement, I super appreciate working with you all because it's very educational. I appreciate our attorney helping us through this
Definitely.
with the legalities too.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
I'll make a
Announcements.
motion to adjourn.
nope, we have announcements.
One last matter, are you expecting to receive, I want to get it out, are you expecting to receive the resumes for the 2 new ones or not?
Yes.
No, just
We
one.
did
No,
receive them.
We're allowed to receive them, we just.
Just one.
Yeah,
Well, we did stop receiving
Yeah.
them.
Do you want those or don't you, I guess?
It's an old one,
No.
Tom.
yeah. I think they should be sent on. They're not for, you know, we can just look at them, you know,
I just
so.
didn't want to have that confusion,
Yeah.
so that.
Just one.
We did receive them.
Not a new one.
Tuesday night, just
Just
one.
Right.
And
But
he
it's
was
an
on
old
the
one.
original,
Right.
and he was the
Yeah,
top
I
scorer.
don't know why you guys are hanging your hat on him. It's ridiculous.
You know,
Whatever.
Are we done?
Thank you.
No, we got announcements.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.